I am Nick Jones with the Utah LTAP, Local Technical Assistance Program, and we are located at Utah State University. And basically we train all of your road people how to do the roads, how to do them effectively and efficiently, and that's essentially what we do all year long. We do probably 60, 70 workshops in the Wasatch Front area. Actually, we go down south also to some degree. So kind of be aware where we are, and if you need to give a call, if you have a specific question on roads or any of that kind of thing, please let me know. And give me a call if you need to, and we certainly could space some time. Just for my background a little bit, I was a city engineer in Provo for 34 years or thereabouts. Been up at Utah State for about 10, and we're teaching basically engineers and other people that are dealing with the roads. And so we have been around roads a long time, and we are more than happy to be with you today. So this basically this kind of tells you some of the things that you'll be dealing with on roads. Here's your flag or traffic and traffic control technicians. These are the people that are going to be set up your setups for every time you close a road or every time one of your people works in a road. You've got to have this pretty rigorously correct, so you don't have any crashes out into those areas, because it gets very expensive. And so essentially what we do is teach your people how to do that, and you can kind of see here, this one is a table that shows where they have to put the advance warning signs and all of that, and it needs to be done correctly because there's a lot of lawsuits in this one. Heavy equipment training. Dee Hadfield from our office does a lot of, will teach your people with your heavy equipment, your motor graders, your dozers, your backhoes, all of those kinds of things that you'll be dealing with, and that basically are the tools for your employees to get their jobs done. So heavy equipment training is, we do that generally speaking in the late fall and early springs. Usually we're out doing a lot of other things in the summertime, so that's kind of keep. We send those notices out, and hopefully you will be getting them. At least your people in your public works will, telling them when the trainings are available. We do those all through the state, essentially, quite a bit in the Salt Lake area, obviously, but we also go all the way down south and up north. And here's some of the other equipment training that you're dealing with. This is the front loader. These are basically the tools of your road people. There's a dozer and a backhoe. You'll get familiar with those. Maybe you'll even be out there operating it, for all I know. So good luck with that. Heavy equipment training basically tells you how the operator best can use their equipment, and how to get the best jobs out of them. So this is a lot of the courses that we do, that we basically want to train your people so they know how to do it effectively and as cost effectively as possible. You don't have a lot of money. You'll probably find out very quickly you don't have a lot of money to do everything you want to do, and so you've got to be careful about how you do this and how your people do it, so that they're not wasting some of your finances just doing it incorrectly and have to redo that kind of stuff. APW registration, stormwater inspector training. All your stormwater that comes off your roads into your storm system have to be inspected and treated. And so that's a fairly important part because those waters that go into your catch boxes, for example, will eventually end up into a nearest stream or a river or a lake, and essentially you need to make sure that doesn't pollute our environment. Cost-effective pavement preservation. Basically, you've got concrete streets that you'll see out there. You don't see those quite as much anymore. Most of the ones that you'll see in your areas are asphalt streets. They're a little easier to deal with. They don't last as long as concrete, but because we have a lot of water mains and sewer mains and gas and all that kind of stuff in the roads, with the concrete, it's a little hard to find out if you have a leak somewhere. And so generally, you're going to find that most of your cities and towns will use asphalt roads, because you can kind of see when you get a water leak, for example, it comes up and you kind of see generally in the area that you're at. You don't have to hunt it for a long time. Basics of a good road is another one. We want to teach your people how basically they are constructed. Make sure they're constructed right to begin with, and follow all of the federal guidelines that they've got to deal with on that kind of stuff. Winter road maintenance. We're in that area right now, and you'll probably get calls pretty quickly as soon as you have 2 or 3 snowstorms. Why haven't you done our road yet? Why? And you can't be everything at the same time. So generally speaking, when you're out doing winter road maintenance, you work on your arterial roads first, then your collector roads, and then your local roads if you can get to them. So. Yeah, those as soon as a pretty good snow falls, you'll find out that you'll get quite a few calls related to that. Vegetation, roadside vegetation control and maintenance. Basically, we don't have as much of a problem in Utah. Don't have a lot of vegetation as a lot of the states do, but we still have to be careful with what we do and make sure that we're not, for example, we're not getting a lot of salt into the irrigation ditches that are out there that are going to their crops. And so those are the kind of things we need to be familiar with and careful about. OSHA 10 hour. Just the nature of construction with these big units out there, and the depth that the people are in their depths in the trench, for example. When they're laying a pipe, they're going to be in an 8-foot, 10-foot deep trench, and if that is not safe, we have every year 3 or 4 people dying with a cave-in if they're not careful about those. And so safety training is very important to make sure that they're covered, that they've got enough equipment out there to block roads, the soils that might cave in on them. Here's a lot more. Just communication skills for supervisor. I'll just go through these real quick. You can probably read them as we go. ADA, that's issues where we have people that can't get around, have problems with walking and that kind of stuff, so we have to accommodate those also. And so our streets and sidewalks need to be built such that they can get in and out of these areas also. Speed limits in school zones, chip seals, best management practices. Most of your cities don't use chip seals as much. The counties do, and it's because as soon as you put the chips down, then eventually they ravel into your drains, and you have to clean those fairly often. So chip seals, roundabout designs. I assume most of you have been roundabouts, and you're going to see lots more of them as time goes on. Actually, we did the first one when I was city engineer in Provo. We did the first one down there with a roundabout, and the first we got it done. It took us about 3 months to do. Got it done up there by the Peaks area, and the first person, we watched the first person go through it, and they went the wrong way. We said, we're dead. We're dead. People just are not smart enough to handle these. Eventually, however, you'll see them almost everywhere now, and people are used to them. They know which way to go around and that kind of stuff. Backing accident workshops. You'll be surprised at how many people are hurt and even killed in Utah just from not paying attention to backing up with their equipment in particular. Those big pieces of equipment that they're dealing with. You're up about 8 feet in the air and you can't see down below your wheels, and it's very easy to run over somebody. And so we spend a lot of time on making sure they understand how they get up when they get into their equipment, make sure they're looking underneath their machine, make sure they know if anybody's coming, that kind of stuff. And it's really important because it's pretty sad when somebody gets killed out on those. MUTCD, Manual on Uniform Traffic Control Devices. Basically, this is a big, thick book that tells your engineer how to do different things in the roads, asphalt, concrete, how to drain it, vegetation, all that kind of stuff. We do a lot of ADA ramps, American Disabilities Act ramps, okay? And these ramps are usually at the corners, and they need to be such that people in wheelchairs can get through without big bumps and without being tipped over, okay? And so that's pretty important that they do that, and you'll find if they don't do that, you're going to end up with lawsuits fairly quickly if we don't pay attention, okay? Gravel roads, we don't see as much of that in our urban areas. But everybody has some gravel roads in their system, and so they're treated a lot different than your asphalt roads are, and your people that work, your operators that work on those need to understand those differences. And so essentially what we try and do is we'll put on workshops so that they understand how the best way is to use this material and get it stayed down and compacted for a longer period of time, so you don't have to spend as much of your money dealing with it. Communication skills for supervisors. Sometimes your city engineers, sometimes your managers don't deal very well with your citizens. Okay, you don't want them calling names and that kind of stuff, and your people need to understand that that's not acceptable. And so communication skills for supervisors, it's important that they are able to get into situations where people are not happy, maybe even yelling at them, and those kind of things, and how to be able to handle them well without blowing up and getting in a fight, that kind of stuff, because that's not going to help you in your cities if that does happen. Construction inspector training. Basically, there's a lot of stuff to build a road and asphalt, another lot of stuff to do concrete and in them. You've got to deal with pipes, you've got to deal with all kinds of stuff. And so construction inspection is very important for your people so that they understand what they need to be looking for out there to get a good product for you. Pavement markings and signs. You'll find out that by the end of the winters, usually, you can't see any legends on the road. They're pretty well worn off and covered out with salt and that kind of stuff. And so it's important that we get your pavement markings so that they're visible. People can use them as they drive. Speed limits. As you can see here, speed limit 80 or 85 or 90, but not 100. Because what the heck, it's Texas, okay? We're not Texas, and so we got to be careful how we make sure the speed limits are out there correctly. There's a lot of things that go into putting, deciding which speed limits you're going to put on there. And you'll find out as council people or that people will call on these issues quite a bit. So you have to understand basically how we do that and what we do and what we don't do. Here's chip seal management. This is done in the counties most, not as much in the cities. Cities use asphalt pavement overlays as a general rule there. Transportation master plans. Hopefully each one of your cities has a master plan that's going to tell them which roads are going to be growing in the future, which ones you have to make sure you've got right of way for through farms and that kind of stuff, and you'll be out there talking with a lot of people. Obviously, people don't like a lot of traffic by their homes, for example, and so it's pretty touchy when you're trying to put a road in someplace and somebody just doesn't want it, that kind of thing. And so we have to kind of work with that as best we can to make sure we don't cause hard feelings, but get the job done also. Roundabouts. You're seeing a lot of roundabouts now, and you're going to see more and more and more of them because they don't stop traffic as much and delay traffic as much as signs do. And you'll start seeing, I think in most of your areas, you'll see several of them in your cities and towns, I'm guessing. There's a lot of them out there now. They're pretty important to get traffic through there, but they need to be designed correctly. And so your people need to know how to do that, and we do have courses on that also. City County Government 101. Your street people and your engineers need to know how to talk to people when they call in with a complaint and not be rude. And so communication skills are pretty important. Generally speaking, if you get somebody out on the road that's a big burly guy, he'd rather hit somebody than he would be tender. Okay, but so all these people have to be trained that way to make sure that they're working well and not causing more problems for your cities. Okay, then concrete overlays. We don't do as much in Utah with that, generally speaking, because we have all of our water, sewer, gas mains, all of that kind of stuff in our roads. And if you put a concrete overlay in it, if you get a leak, you can't find out where it is. Okay, so the water might come out 50 feet from where the leak is, and so you can't find it easily. So generally speaking, what we're finding is most cities and towns are using asphalt because you can see within 2 or 3 feet where the problem might be. Full depth reclamation. That's basically when you grind up an old road that just has no use left and recompact it and resurface it. And this is one of the techniques that your people will also do. Flexible microsurfacing. These are the ones on your heavier roads. You don't want them to be slippery. You want them to be able to have enough friction so that people don't run off the road on corners and that kind of stuff. And so it's important to have a good surface texture on there so that does happen. Roadway materials, we talked about that a little bit already. Pavement maintenance, training. Hopefully, when you hire new people, what we do in the LTAP is go around and do workshops all over the state to train your people on basically how to do this maintenance and how to see where your road is in its 20-year life and how much life it's got left. Do you want to put a whole bunch of expensive stuff on a road that's going to be just going to blow up in your face? No, that's not generally acceptable. And so they have to be very careful about what they do and where they do it. This basically tells you the costs of each one of these types of of things. You can't see it, I'm sure, so I don't want you straining your eyes. But there's a whole lot of stuff out there that helps you do your seal coats, your overlays, all those kind of things to help you. Okay, maintenance math, we do that. These guys need to know how to measure how much oil's going down, how much asphalt's being done, and keep track of that for you so that you get your money's worth when you get done. Okay, intersection safety fundamentals. That's where a lot of your crashes are, and so you got to be really careful about how you do those. You make sure you don't have big trees in the corners on those intersections, so that people, as they come down, they're not blind when another car is coming that way. So, retroreflectivity for signs. Your signs have about a 6 to 8 year use, okay, and then they start wearing out, and then they start getting to the point where you can't see them, as you kind of see on this bottom left. That stop sign, it shows what the stop sign looks like with your headlights, and if it's lost its retroreflectivity, which is about every 5 to 8 years, then you need to make sure you get those out, and so you don't have problems with that. And I think that's essentially all of my presentation. If we can help you as time goes on, please call us. We're again at Utah State University. We're at the LTAP, it's called. It's Local Technical Assistance Program. We have 4 or 5 people that go down around doing workshops. We also do a lot of cities. We'll do probably 6 or 7 cities and evaluate every single road in their town in the summertime when our civil engineering students are not as busy, and then get out there and then evaluate every road, tell you where it is in its life and which ones you should be doing next in order to make it as cost effective as possible.